What up? It's Dramos. You might know me as the dude who sits next to Envy and never talks. During the quarantine, like a lot of you guys, I was just trying to figure out ways to stay productive, not go crazy while locked in the house. And what was spawned from that was IG Live's first ever daytime talk show, or at least that's what I'm claiming. And what it actually turned into was therapy for a lot of people. It gave people something to look forward to in a crazy time. It gave people a platform to have their voice heard. And I realized just how important that was. So as we move out of this whole quarantine experience, I wanted to make sure I kept that going for people. I wanted to make sure I gave people a safe space to, have their viewpoints heard and to talk about the shit that they cared about. So that's what this is, man. Leveling up in the world. Kind of. But this is the brand new show. Give me a chance. I ask y'all to come along on this journey with me. What the world needs now. Let's do it. Man, what the world needs now, the first late night show for the people, by the people. How the fuck are we feeling right now? I'm excited. This is like the next step up. So before anything, let's put some positivity in the air, as I like to do, a little positive quote. This time it comes to us from Chris Carr, and the quote is, "It's not about finding your voice, it's about giving yourself permission to use your voice." It's kind of a lot of what I'm doing right now, and I feel like with this whole quarantine, and all of us coming together, as silly as it was, just like a daily IG Live, I think it allowed me to lean into speaking my mind and embracing sort of, not really caring what other people are going to think about it. And in turn, I feel like I found a lot of commonality when it comes to other people. So I encourage you guys, not to be afraid of the social media backlash. And I love what I'm seeing when it comes to people speaking up. Obviously, Black Lives Matter and all the things going on with that. I'm seeing allies posting about it, people of every color, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I know personally that comes with a lot of backlash, but do not be afraid to use your voice, man. Great things come when people use their voice and are unapologetic about, speaking how they feel, and letting the world know and speaking out on things. So that's my positive tip today. So coronavirus, you guys remember that? It's still a thing, right? Let's talk about it. Yeah, coronavirus apparently is still a thing. So 21 states in the U.S. reporting an increase in cases, as well as record numbers in certain states like Texas and Florida. Florida don't give a fuck out there. Florida is out here wilding. They really don't care. Shout out to everybody in Florida. I know I got some people from Miami who usually tune into this show. But Florida's out there. I'm curious. So are people still nervous about the coronavirus? Jersey City, where I live, yesterday I had to go to the pharmacy, and bro, it was like a normal summer day. Everybody's out drinking, they out there, eating close spaces like it's nothing. So it's just a whole, I don't know, man. The fear of coronavirus still is real for me. I'm curious, you guys out there, how we feeling? Are we over the coronavirus? Is the coronavirus canceled? People love canceled things these days. So how are we feeling so far with the coronavirus cases? I know, Ice, you said we knew this would happen. I agree. We knew once people start going out like that and not following, so New York is starting to open up, but New York has had a decrease in cases consistently because we were pretty tightly locked down. Jersey, for the most part. Ms. Boo Boo, you said everybody acting like it's halftime. I love that. Joe Paul, you said gross negligence is the only way to put it. How states reopen and wait till I agree. Love We Don't See, you said yes and no because he's still at these protests. Yeah, I mean, at least you have a good reason to be out though, right? Like at least I feel like you could justify being out for the protest, but like going out to, I don't know, eat a sandwich outside in the street, or like grab a beer. I mean, I get it, but for me personally, I just can't justify it, The fear is still there. Thank you, Lex. I appreciate you. Yeah, I mean, so, and some doctors are actually saying that this was just like the first wave and we're going to have another wave still. Vice President Mike Pence saying that there will be no second wave. Obviously, I'm going to fall onto the cautionary side as far as what the doctors tell me when it comes to all this stuff. But, hey, what are we going to do? Say what you feel. You said a lot of cases going up in the southern states. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I was reading something where it said that a lot of the areas that weren't originally hit are now actually taking on these new numbers and these new cases, which is pretty crazy. Jade, you said you don't appreciate people being out without masks. Yeah, I agree 100%. That's one thing I can't get over. I see people walking around here with no mask on and just, I don't know, it's just disrespectful in my opinion. Um, let's see, Joe Paul, you said 16 people in Florida went to a bar and all got sick. I saw there was like a group of 16 friends. They all went to a bar out there and they all ended up with the virus. I hate to laugh, but we also saw Cowboys running back Ezekiel Elliott, if I'm not mistaken, got it. And remember, he was at a party that a few other Cowboys were at that like made some viral headlines earlier when this whole thing was going on. It's just crazy. Let me see. Miss Booby said Arizona already thinking about shutting down again. Yeah, and what's interesting is Florida, their governor said they will not be rolling back on their restrictions or regulations. So Florida don't give a fuck, man. I mean, you got to appreciate it. I was actually going to drop a bomb for Florida not giving a fuck, but let's move on to some good news, though. All right, so speaking of the Black Lives Matter, all the protesting, everything that's been going on, it's actually beautiful to see the amount of progress that's being made right now. Like, we've been putting the pressure on the people in charge, and man, we're seeing a change. In San Francisco, police officers are being replaced with unarmed professionals to handle like non-criminal matters like the homeless or mental health issues. So there's gonna be trained professionals who know how to deal with people, who have mental illness to make sure that doesn't escalate into something that doesn't need to be, which is absolutely a beautiful thing. In Kentucky, a new Breonna Taylor law was enacted to disband no-knock warrants or make them illegal, which I do have to put a little asterisk to it, though, first. Obviously, Breonna Taylor's killers have not been arrested yet as of the taping of this right now. So still a lot of work to be done. But in New York, Governor Cuomo unveiled a bunch of new policing reform and made chokeholds criminal. He took away a law that protected officers from being able to hide, I guess, their disciplinary records. So people are able to now see that, which officers have had problems in the past, and that's no longer something that can be swept under the rug. So we're definitely seeing a lot of change, and it's a beautiful thing. Jade, what did you say? You said, like, if someone was gaslighting all your 400 plus years and was then like, my bad, let me change now, I'm trying to embrace it. But I get what you're saying. It doesn't erase the history. It doesn't erase the pain. You're absolutely right when it comes to that. But we have to allow ourselves to heal, right? When traumatic things happen within our personal lives, even, we can't allow ourselves to dwell on it. We just got to figure out ways to try and move past it. Doesn't mean we forgot what happened. It just means that we, understand it, we acknowledge the pain, and now we are, embracing the fact that change can actually potentially be happening right now. Mikey W asked me, have I struggled with mental issues before? Absolutely, man. I struggle with anxiety, depression. I've seen therapists multiple times throughout my life, and it's been super helpful just to have somebody to talk to. We all go through that, man. What's interesting about this time period right now, and I know a lot of people don't want to make it about themselves, which is honorable, because this moment is so much bigger than any one of us. But the more I talk to people right now, like just friends and people that I consider to be like, wow, super positive people that really don't have, much negatives to say about, life and the world we live in today. They're all feeling it too. There's just a heaviness in the world right now, and people's anxiety is elevated. People's depression is elevated. A lot of people are losing the sort of motivation to be productive. I'm not gonna lie, a lot of where I unplugged from doing this show for a couple of weeks, man. I had to take a break because it was just a lot. You got working in media, and not to say my burden is any higher than anybody else's, because I don't face the level of daily racism that a lot of black people do. But even working in media, just having to stay up on all these things and watch every video and talk about it and be surrounded by it all the time. As much as I know it's a good thing to keep having those conversations, bro, it's taxing. It weighs on you after a while. So, you got to unplug a little bit. You got to allow yourself that break. And then, when you're ready and recharge, you come out there stronger than ever. And that's what I'm doing right now. So I do want to talk about the young man, Rashard Brooks, who was killed outside of the Wendy's in Atlanta. He was the young man that unfortunately he got shot twice in the back outside of a Wendy's. Police woke him up sleeping in his car. At some point there was a struggle and he grabbed the police officer's taser, started running, and then was shot. And obviously that is another egregious kind of overreaction of the police department, that we're seeing. I want to make sure I speak on that as well, because a lot of people are hurting over that. The officer who shot him was fired, if I'm not mistaken. and the other supporting officer was placed on leave. And I know today, as of the taping of this today, they were awaiting to see if there were going to be charges brought up on them, I believe. In that case, to kind of see what happens. Ms. Boo said, I agree. And it's just crazy. If not mistaken, also the police commissioner for Atlanta, she resigned after this one as well. RJ OG Camp Belton, you said, man, that was tough because the whole situation could have been avoided on both sides. I agree 100%. Like, I've personally, in my younger days, like, drank too much and, like, I can't drive. I'm going to sleep in the car. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean that, like, I'm expecting to have a situation get escalated where I end up losing my life, or put into a position where I'm going to have an altercation with the police, That could have been de-escalated. There could have been some empathy for that man. We've all been there before. And to me, I think when it comes to lack of empathy, it's like this man made the smart decision to not drive under the influence, if I'm not mistaken. And he paid for it with his life, man, which is absolutely, so sad. I know a lot of people, let's see, Joe Paul, you're saying it appears like he was shot in the back simply because the cops weren't fast enough to run and catch him. I agree. Obviously nobody is saying that this man was in the right for grabbing the taser, but at the same time, that was excessive to shoot him in the back as he's running away. That is obviously somebody who is not equipped to wear the badge to know when is the proper time to use that kind of force, Coach Queen, you said you've definitely slept in the car drunk because you thought you were doing the right thing by not driving. I agree 100%, man. It's absolutely, we've all been there before, and the fact that a cop doesn't have empathy on that, man, is absolutely sad, And there's so many other things I want to get into with it. And one of the things I don't like, and we're kind of talking about the subject of people bringing up what people did to justify certain actions, right? So you'll have some people be like, well, you shouldn't have grabbed the taser. And you're right, he absolutely should not have grabbed the taser, but that does not mean that is a death sentence because you're resisting and do that. Especially when he's running away like that, there's a big difference between a taser and a gun. That's why, police use a taser instead of a gun. And I would think most instances, right, that would be the protocol. And I know a lot of people bringing up George Floyd's past and other people, Breonna Taylor and things like that, as if that's some sort of justification to them being dead and as if it's okay. And it's not. It's disgusting. And it leads me to this bigger conversation of cancel culture, because I think what we're seeing right now, I think what we're seeing right now is like this, with these cases, we're seeing like this almost post-mortem cancel culture where it's like, oh, this is a disgusting thing, but let's dig up some dirt on the person to make ourselves feel a little better about it and to justify the fact that they're not here anymore. And that's bullshit. And it leads me to this week's big question that I want to get people's feedback heavy on this one. And Jade, you're saying those people are basura. I agree, 100% garbage. But this week's big question, I want to talk about cancel culture. And what do you guys feel about it? Where does it apply? Do we need to have a little bit more empathy for one another? We've seen different cases, the last week, even just in entertainment, when it comes to people like B. Simone or a Kendrick Lamar or J. Cole now with this new track. Trav, I know you're going to be, super opinionated on this one, but cancel culture, when is it okay? Do we feel people need a second chance? In my opinion, I think we're too quick to cancel people, especially too quick to cancel our own. Like, imagine if every time you made a mistake, you had a gigantic spotlight placed upon you and somebody was trying to, quote unquote, cancel you and stop you from doing what it is that you do. Trav, you said it's needed for certain situations. Okay, like what? Like, what about we're talking about like the B. Simones or the J. Coles or the Kendrick? People are on Kendrick because they feel like he hasn't posted enough about it. Even though we did see him at a protest, people are on J. Cole because of the lyrics in this song, which I'm still kind of struggling with what people are so upset about. To me, his tweets following up the lyrics when he was talking about, oh, well, he doesn't read. And this is no shade to J. Cole, but he is a conscious rapper. So to say that he doesn't read kind of makes you question a lot of the things he said or a lot of value we put into his words. But I mean, you guys are definitely lighting up the comments over here when it comes to all that stuff. So let's see. Sandy Live Not Loud, he said people can't just cancel people because stars will always have people supporting them. Yeah, but I think it's bigger than that. I think it's regardless of that, should we even want to cancel somebody? Like, what is it that somebody has to do that's so egregious? And I agree, there are certain levels. Like R. Kelly, canceled. But like for things like B. Simone, where she had a blind eye to somebody plagiarizing her book, or we're talking about Kendrick or J. Cole, like we're gonna cancel some of our most valued people in our community for what? Because they had a misstep, or we don't like something that they did. Ms. Boo Boo, you said I get it if they keep doing it, but people grow and change. See, and I agree with that, because I would say like Doja Cat to me is canceled for me. Like I won't play her music anymore. I won't put it in my radio mixes. But it's because she doubled down on the things that she did, rather than saying like, hey, I've been dealing with some own issues of loving myself and things like that. She doubled down on it. She had some crazy tweets this last week as well. Basically just saying a fuck you to anybody that has an issue with her past and hanging out in racist chat rooms and whatever else she was into. She doubled down on it, which to me shows she has no remorse and is worth canceling at that point. Let's see. Ice Means, you said, JK, you were clowning Akon. Ice, you said Akon's doing great for Africa, but cancel him musically. Yeah, I mean, that's a little sketchy. What him and Tekashi, man. RJ, you said you could dig a cancel Akon. Y'all have no remorse for Akon. Jade, you said there's no debate. There's a light switch on and off. Okay. Let's see. John, you said, how can we cancel when we're all going through the human experience? I agree, and that's that, man. Like, we're all learning as we go. Like, as much as we hold these people in such high regard, as much as we try to put them on this pedestal, they're no different than you and I, man. They're human, I have the blessing that every day, prior to this lockdown, obviously, I had some of my biggest heroes coming in and walking through those doors, and I got to see them as people. You know what I mean? They have insecurities just like the rest of us, and fears just like the rest of us. But just so many things like that, man, we have to kind of be mindful of. And again, these are our people. Like, this is our culture. These are our artists. These are our talents, our treasures that we're talking about, not giving them a break on something. You know what I mean? Coach Queen, you say you're not a big fan of cancel culture, but B. Simone had 3 strikes in 2 weeks. She dug her own grave. What was the third one? I know the first one was the 9 to 5, not dating somebody with a 9 to 5. Second one was the plagiarizing. And even with her, like, real talk, most people that you see that are like authors don't actually write their own books. Like most celebrities, I don't want to be the one that like pulls the veil up, but they have a ghostwriter. They have somebody who like puts their story into what would be their words, and they write the book. So I can understand, like, maybe she had a ghostwriter who like wasn't the greatest and just decided to steal things instead of actually writing it. And that's what happened to her. I can understand that happening. Now, of course, that falls on her for not, verifying and triple checking, because she is the leader of that team. She said that herself. She's the face of that brand. But I don't think that justifies canceling her. All right, so I guess fuck cancel culture is the moral of the story. Thank y'all so much for tuning in, being a part of the live digital audience. Let's get into this week's interview, though. Our first ever interview. It comes to us from the OG, Aries Spears. Let's get into it. All right, tonight's guest is legendary comedian. You probably know him best from Mad TV. My guy, Aries Spears. How we doing, my dude?
Yo, what's up, brother? How you doing, man?
Oh, man, I guess all things considering, I'm doing about as well as you can be, right? So much going on in the world. We'll dive into a lot of it, but more importantly, how you been these last couple of months, man? So much going on.
I'm just glad to get back to the grind. You know what I mean? This past weekend was my first time back officially doing stand-up. I was in OKC.
Yeah.
So, it was just nice to get back into the mix.
How was that? Like, what was the kind of visual, paint a picture of what it's like now in like this post-quarantine world?
You more or less feel it and see it when you travel through the airport. Then I think the comedy shows, depending on which comedy club you're doing. But, listen, at the end of the day, I think a lot of this social distancing stuff is the illusion to make us feel safe. Because when you're sitting on an airplane, how much really social distancing can you do when you're in a tube?
Right.
Yeah.
And
then even when I went to the comedy club, the place I worked had everybody kind of spaced out, but the way that the room was built, you were still kind of together.
Yeah.
Plus, you got the wait staff dealing with your food, touching your straws, touching your plates. A lot of them don't have gloves on. Some do upon request. At the end of the day, it's like I said, it's an illusion to make you feel safe.
Right. I mean, I think we're just at a point where it's like we've done the best we can, and you're just going to have to take some sort of risk if that's what you want to do going out there, right?
You got to hope for the best, man. My main concern was, I was worried that a lot of the people in the audience would have masks on. And, the comedy is such an intimate art form,
right?
In terms of you connecting with the people and you on top of them and them on top of you. So for us to really be effective, I need to see your face. I need to see your teeth. Right. I need to see your emotion. So I like condomless comedy.
Well put. All right. So, I mean, I want to dive into your background a little bit because, you know, there are so many people out there who are motivational speakers and they make a living.
I'm not one of them.
Right. But what I find interesting is people like you are inspiring without probably even realizing it, you know. And I have so much respect for comedians because the grind is so real, you know. So obviously your big break, if I'm not mistaken, at least where I discovered you when I was younger, was Mad TV. But can you kind of take us through the point that led up to getting that big break?
Well, I've been doing this 30 years. So I started off when I was 14. I actually made my TV debut on Def Comedy Jam when I was 16 with Martin Lawrence. And then I did Showtime at the Apollo the year after at 17. And then long story short, man, I ended up getting out to LA, I think probably, for about the next 5 years. And back then they gave what was called holding deals, which is something they don't do right now, but it do anymore. But they would basically give you X amount of money to take you off the market. So none of the other networks could scoop you up, especially if you was considered like a hot commodity, which, I was fortunate enough to be that, being that young and doing what I was doing and coming where I came from. But I ended up, being passed around town like some cheap whore because I ended up making all this money but never produced anything. Right. Hollywood don't have a problem giving you money. The gold is in what you produce. Yeah. It's nothing for them to write you a check and if don't nothing happen, hey, you just made some money. The real gold is in produce, because once you produce and you have a show, now you on the air. Now we're talking about syndication. Now we're talking about longevity, a weekly check. So I made a lot of money by the time I was 21, but hadn't done anything. So I eventually went through all the networks, and the first time I went to Fox, or actually I auditioned for Mad TV, they wanted me, but I couldn't do it because I was tied into a deal with Aaron Spelling. So by the time that deal expired, Mad TV was getting ready to be in its third season. So the president of Fox was like such a big fan of mine. He was just like, yo, I'm gonna put you on. So I didn't even have to audition the second time. And so I joined the cast when I was 22. I did that for about 8 years. Yeah. And then amongst other things, Jerry Maguire, Shaq's All-Star Comedy Jam with Kevin D-Ray, Tommy Davidson, and just stand up and touring and all of that.
Was there ever a point in your career, like maybe even coming up or even maybe later, that you kind of felt like giving this whole thing up? Like you kind of felt like
every day. Every day. Every day's a struggle to stay with it.
Right. So what's your process? I mean, at this point, 30 years, you have to have some sort of process that gets you past those mental blocks.
I know this is going to come off kind of corny and cliche, but the truth of it, seriously, is the people, is the fans. So many people all over the country, certain parts of the world, hit me up and tell me things that really I need to hear to uplift my spirit and keep me going mentally and emotionally and spiritually. So they really pick me up when I'm feeling down or I feel like quitting, because this industry is so bananas. And the day goes by when I don't think about hanging it up.
It's tough, man. Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's so many ups and downs, and I love to hear that it's the people that keeps you going. Right. I mean, all right. So as a comedian, one of my favorite things about hearing comedians speak is you guys have such an amazing perspective with the world. You know what I mean? Like, you could find humor in the shit that you're probably not supposed to. You know what I mean? That's the beauty of it, and I think it gives you sort of a very, I don't know, you don't take things to heart. You know what I mean? So you can really look at things for what they are. But with that said, I've appreciated the fact that you have been so vocal on social media about what's going on right now in the world, as far as,
and it's costing me.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's costing.
Please believe it's costing. No, but it's costing me, because I'm already behind the 8 ball.
You feel like you're maybe gonna get less bookings or less of a following because you're speaking out so hard?
I'm not worried too much about a following, because the people that, real, like the saying goes, real recognize real. Right. The people that understand that there's a situation and understand that there's a problem and understand the truth. Yeah. Know that as long as you're speaking from truth and you come off genuine in terms of what's coming out from your heart, I think those are the people that are going to stand by you.
No, I feel that, but I mean, take me through what is going on in like art in your mind that makes you feel fearless into just talking about these things right now.
You know, I just, you know, listen, in a perfect world, would I love, and I've said this in many interviews, would I love to be Kevin Hart? Would I love to be Madison Avenue? Would I love to be McDonald's? Yeah, that's where the money is. That's where the adulation is.
Right.
But right now, I'm more MOP's ante up. You know what I mean? Because it's hard for me to turn on the news and watch my people get killed and watch their blood literally pour into the streets. And I'm just like, I feel like I could sleep sound. You know, I don't feel like I could sleep sound because that could be me. That could be somebody I know, somebody I love. And plus the way I was brought up, you know, my mother was I don't know if I say a revolutionary, but she was very big into, you know, Black history and learning where you come from and learning what we've been through and knowing when you should take a stand and just knowing the history. So knowing the history the way that I do, that stuff stays with my conscience. So look, I'm not out here trying to be Malcolm X or some sort of change the world type of dude, because I don't believe I'm that.
Right now, it's about right and wrong. You know what I mean? It's not about politics. It's not about, you know, obviously it started with racism, but it's really human rights at the end of the day. We should all feel comfortable walking around these streets, you know, on this earth, in this country, you know. And it's a huge issue, and we all should feel like we want to be on the right side of history when it comes to all this, regardless of what the repercussions are when it comes to financial career or things like that.
But we know, you know, there's a major difference between what should be and what is.
Right.
You know, you know, my manager has a great saying, man. He goes, you want to be rich or you want to be right. You know, and oftentimes the two don't correlate. So if you want to be rich, shut the fuck up. Don't take a stance.
Right.
You know, be for lack of better words, be that good boy. But, you know, I want to find a way to be both. But I'm trying to figure that out.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I personally, maybe I'm overly optimistic. I feel like we're moving into a place in the world where hopefully both things can be true. You know, is there anything that you've seen, you know, I want to kind of end on a positive note, anything you've seen recently that gives you optimism for the future?
I mean, look, nothing tickles my heart than to see white folks get involved. Because, you know, theoretically, you know, we shouldn't need, like you said, it's human rights.
Right.
So we shouldn't need white people to help us. Because if we're all equal and we're all humans, then us should be enough. But that's not the world we live in. The world we live in is that white lives obviously mean more than Black. So when white people join our fight, historically, it adds more value. At the end of the day, I don't give a fuck how we get there. Let's get there.
I agree.
You know, and listen, I see all people of all colors getting involved. Latinos, Indians, Asians, and again, beautiful thing. But if we're being honest, on the totem pole of, you know, ethnic importance, we know who's number one, who's been number one.
Right.
So I just love to see white folks willing to take the knocks, take being arrested, take bleeding, potentially take dying for us. Because I think when they do that, that makes us better as a unit.
My man, listen, I appreciate you being humble enough to sit down here and have a conversation with me and give me your perspective. You are absolutely a legend. You know, you're somebody I grew up watching, so I appreciate you taking this time. I do, for real.
Well, I thank you for allowing me to come on your platform, brother. And if y'all can, to all the people watching and listening, please support my free podcast. It's called Spears and Steinberg. It's available on all streaming platforms, particularly Spotify, Apple, Google Play, Anchor. But you could just simply DM me in my Instagram, and I'll hook you up with the link personally.
All right, my dude. Stay safe, okay?
Appreciate you. You too, dog.
Man, episode number 1, What the World Needs Now, officially in the books. Big thank you to this week's guest, Aries Spears, for hopping on here with me. Also, once again, thank you so much to the live digital audience who tuned in. If you want to be a part of next week's live digital audience, I record it every Wednesday, noon Eastern time via my Instagram. I encourage you, if you can, hop on there. I want to make sure you know that, you know, this platform is just as much for you as it is for me. It's an encouragement for all of us to get our voices heard, to have a safe space that, you know, we feel like we can express ideas and, you know, have a large platform for people to see them. And before I get into my final thoughts, I just want to give a really, really big thank you to the entire Breakfast Club family, from everybody that works on the show to our digital team for, you know, allowing me to just have creative ideas and to take the chance on giving me a platform to showcase them. But more than anything, I want to thank you, the Breakfast Club fans, because you guys have welcomed me with open arms, and it really means the world to me. I've, you know, worked very hard over these last, I don't even know, 10 years at this point in the music industry to just, you know, carve out a place for myself just like anybody else, and to find somewhere that I feel like I fit and somewhere that I can make a difference. And it's been incredible to be a part of this Breakfast Club family. And you guys, the listeners, are a huge part of it. So I thank you so much for keeping an open mind and, you know, being here to listen to what I have to say and giving me a chance. So thank you guys so much. And that leads into this week's final thoughts. I sit here in the dining room of my apartment with furniture that I got off Facebook Marketplace or donated or Craigslist, with a camera that's borrowed, and just whatever random equipment I had laying around here to make this happen. And I say all that to encourage you guys to not wait for anybody to tell you it's okay to do the things you want to do. I've had a dream of hosting. I've had a dream of, you know, having my own late night show. And I'm not going to wait for the perfect casting opportunity. I'm not going to wait for somebody to, you know, call my phone and tell me it's my time. I'm going to do whatever I have to do to create that opportunity. And I just encourage you all to do so. Whatever it is that you want to do, don't wait for anybody. Figure it out. Figure out a way that you can, you know, get yourself in there and just get that idea flowing. Is it going to be perfect at first? No. There's going to be plenty of things about this first episode that I'm going to look back on and be like, damn, like I wish we redid that, or I might cringe on me stumbling over words or the way I said something. But you know what? I'm diving into it. And I'm just doing it. I'm not talking about it. I'm not planning about it anymore. I'm doing what I want to do. And I'm putting myself out there and hoping for the best. And that's all I can encourage all you guys watching. You know, let this be an inspiration for you. I just hope, you know, this reaches somebody out there who needed that little push to go out there and do what they want to do. I love and appreciate all you guys. Thank you so much once again. What the world needs now. I'll see y'all next week.